Hey, everybody, welcome back to part two of Beyond the Struggle. I am joined once again by Mr. Ryan Murphy and Mr. Jason Blackledge. Thanks for joining us again. Glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. That I had that desire to want to change, but like you mentioned, the obsession gets so powerful at times where it blocks out the plans of trying to get better and trying to do something different.
And think about it, like, man, I'm not even bathing. I don't give a damn about my family. I'm not even doing like eating, bathing, this, that. Like the kids, the family, that's so far even, and that's again back to how strong that obsession is. I'm not even doing things that I need to do to survive, let alone thinking about the people in my life or this or that. Like
When the law caught up to me this time, I had one shoe on. And there's no telling how long I had one shoe on, because I remember being in the intake dorm and my left foot was so cut up. It had blisters, and I mean, there's no telling how
what's
long
the thought of just one shoe, man? I'm thinking.
What you mean? I had one tennis shoe
I know.
on.
I'm saying why not just rock barefoot? Like
I don't know why I had one shoe on. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not where your mind's going, yeah.
Like,
I guess my mind didn't realize I had one shoe on.
I got you.
Oh, look, it's funny you say that because I remember, the police showing up to my house because I had told them that somebody had stolen my truck, right? But I'd let somebody use my truck to go, get some dope or whatnot. And so I called them, and they show up into my apartment at the time, and I got on 5 or 6 different jackets. I'm like jackets, you know what I mean? But they're also all different colors, right?
man.
So I got 5 or 6 different jackets on. I got flip-flops on. It's like 20 degrees. I have no heat in my house, right? But they're just all different colored jackets, and to think somebody coming in now, when I can imagine that much not
Seeing you in that
a
state.
policeman too, seeing me saying that somebody stole my vehicle, right? And they're looking all around my apartment, and I'm clearly out of my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember them asking me are you on something? And I'm like, no. I was like, I've been sober. I'm taking Suboxone. I've been sober for I don't know how long.
Yeah, a few years.
A few years. And knowing under those layers of jackets, I got a pipe sitting right here, a bag right here.
You can't count your favorite one. You don't count that.
I was like, what did I look like, man?
Yeah.
And not only that, but the family seeing that's me showing up at the family's house like that, thinking that I'm just sporting a look.
Right. But in those moments, you think everything's okay. I look
Everything's normal.
fine. This is how I'm supposed to look.
God.
Delusion, right?
Just crazy, man. And we were talking about just the delusion of our lives, like you said, the fact that we could live under a bridge, stay in a tent, out in this grove of homeless people, and be okay, right? Content with that's my life. And in that moment, thinking this is what my life is always going to be like, right? No, and I remember no thought about future. That was probably truly living in the moment of this is what my life is like. And
Shit.
I have resigned myself to a life of misery. You know what I mean? But during those moments, we were comfortable in that misery because what we were doing was doing everything that our body needed to feel good.
Right.
I want to say this real quick, man, because just sitting here thinking about it is how crazy, I'm how different life is today. One of my biggest problems today is trading in my new car for a new truck.
Yeah.
Today.
Right.
But and that's what it just hit me as we're talking about this not that long ago. This is where life was.
Right.
Right. And then
For sure,
what
man.
problems are for me today compared to this stuff that we've all been there. And look, we could we could sit here for hours and do this about the camps, the jails, the this, the that, the but it's just to think that today, like, I don't know, I've heard it said, and I hate the cliche, man. I hate it. I'll say that. But like, living a life outside of my pay grade kind of thing, because like yesterday, I went to bed last night upset about the, trading in new vehicles for new trucks and this, and like, that's crazy.
And forget about the gratitude.
And
of
forget
life
about,
that
like,
you have,
not that long ago, a vehicle wasn't even on the radar.
Right, or
man.
driving a stolen one or something.
Yeah, or like, I can't get even a driver's license or this or that. Like, and sometimes, that's what I love about not only this podcast and treatment and a program of recovery is I get to sit with some people and it brings me back to like, the basics of all this, man, is that like...
And it's kind of crazy you're saying that too. I just kind of had this thought too, like what I see, with the little bit of time that I have and comparison to the time that you have and the time that you had, like it still hasn't changed, right? The life still hasn't changed. If anything, it's getting worse out there.
I'd like say that.
If I were using in today's addiction, I probably wouldn't be alive, because of the different substances and stuff like that, and it's the same but different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, but I'm just like I had this mental image of like you being out there compared to like me and Jason, and just like how there's differences in the time that we have clean.
Right.
But the lifestyle that we all live was still the same, regardless of the time it was. And
for sure.
It's just it's a rough world out there for those in addiction, man.
It is.
And I think that's the great thing about, areas and availability for somebody to go find a meeting, seek a program of recovery, and to go to treatment, right? And to know there's so many options, but we were talking like when I first started going, or when Jason first started going, it was I was pre-Google and all that, right?
Oh yeah.
Pre-Google was Yellow Pages,
Right.
but you knew about this. You knew all about it because it's so prominent in this area now, right? Oh, that's AI. Look, AI talking about
Yellow Pages,
wow.
man.
To bring you back,
Right.
huh?
See, we didn't have that.
Right.
I didn't have my AI assistant,
Now
but
you can just say, "Hey Siri, point me to the nearest detox."
Yeah.
so let's talk about this. Let's switch gears a little bit. So, one of the things we didn't mention is the fact that you work for Woodlake now.
I do.
Right? So you're now an employee. You're an alumni. You went through Woodlake, and now you're an employee. So tell us how that all started. Like, what was your position? What was your transformation through to
like
where
when
you're
did
at?
you say I want to I think I want to work at a treatment center.
Yeah, man, it's been a journey. So it was suggested, and I remember y'all talked about this on a podcast a few weeks ago. It's every client's dream to work in a treatment center.
So you had somebody suggest that you should be a
No,
counselor?
I never once
wanted to do it?
did that or had this idea when I was in treatment, like, or early in my recovery. But I had a job prior to Woodlake, and I was making some pretty decent money.
Yeah.
And I was just miserable. The environment was very unhealthy. I was working in the kitchen, Red Lobster to be exact. I started as a dishwasher, went to a line cook, and I worked my way up to a certified grill master. And you can make some pretty good money with Red Lobster, dude. I was making close to $18 an hour.
They got a new CEO now, so
I heard that.
Yeah. So
Completely off the subject. Let's talk about the CEO of Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
A friend of mine, the same Frank, mentioned that Woodlake Denim needed
Mr. Frank,
Mr. Carter, as I call him. Woodlake Denim needed some techs, and it was a very significant pay cut from what I was making. And I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and I bounced the idea off a few people, and I went for it, man. And it was It was scary at first. If we're talking about the financial aspect of it, I mean, I took a pretty good pay cut.
Yeah. So you quit the other job.
Yeah. I left on good terms. I gave him 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and,
but because were you overnight, man? I can't
I
remember.
was.
Yeah, so I didn't know if you were trying to do both at one point or.
No.
Gotcha.
So I took the job, man, working nights at Woodlake and Denham. I did that for about 10 months. And I had the idea of wanting to move up in the company at that point, right? So I enrolled in school. I'm a full-time college student today. I'm studying a bachelor's of the science of psychology with a concentration in addiction studies. So I wanted to start doing that first, then tried to work my way up through the company and eventually become a clinician.
No point in him. I'm not a clinician anymore.
You were. Yeah.
I'm still registered. I still got a certificate and all that good stuff.
He was making shots at us at me in the car. Yeah.
No, so I tagged for about 10 months, and then Marketplace had a position available doing utilization review.
Which is insurance stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, that's why I'm always telling guys, like, I don't have anything to do with,
right.
like, they have literally, they employ people full-time to deal with insurance.
So shout out to Marketplace and the UR department. That is a very stressful, it's a very stressful job.
Yeah.
I did that for about 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
No, about eight or 9 months. I recently just came back to Woodlake and Denham, assessment coordinator and discharge.
Yeah, starting at clinical.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of the start. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, that's kind of like your transition from
so
this,
much
man.
paperwork.
And you were assessment, right?
I did it.
Look,
Like,
my days, you once you got your certification or license, they put you straight in the group.
Oh man,
I think I might have did a couple of PSAs.
Mine was pretty quick.
Yeah,
Mine was a couple.
I think I had done a couple of PSAs, man, but it was like, all right, let's go. Ryan Phillips sit in group with you one time and like make you feel like
right,
so
you're ready to
less
go.
of a clinician.
Yeah.
Right,
Say,
right.
okay,
I'm
run
like,
with
dude,
it.
please don't come in here anymore. I
It was
remember
small compared to
my
him.
first
I bet.
family day. He's texting me questions to ask the family, and I forgot to turn my phone on silent. So it had the little coin, it had a little like bottle cap over it. So every time he texts me, like cling cling.
And then you're asking him a question, and then clean
and I'm like, oh man, this is not going well.
How does that make you feel?
And on break, he was like, "You want me to come back?" I said, "I don't think so, man. I think I'd do better with that."
Yeah.
Right.
So
for
that's
sure.
the end goal for you. Well, not end goal. I'm sorry, because certainly, but that's the next step.
Yes.
Is working into the counselor, the clinician, and then
That's what you want to do.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I want to try to help as many individuals who struggle with the same thing that I struggle with as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Sponsorship, yeah, right. But I want to get into the clinical side of things and continue that.
well, they're definitely two different things.
Exactly.
And that's
sure,
and look,
for
that's
sure.
the good thing about school and being able to learn.
Yeah,
and then you learn it.
absolutely.
Then you learn it doing it. I was able to work with some pretty smart people. One of the guys, man, I wish he would come on here. Brandon,
Yeah, I
was
tried.
not in recovery.
Yeah.
When I was kind of in this like very similar position you are, and so I was able to have somebody give me a lot of pointers on like, hey, that's 12-step lingo. That's not
Right,
clinical lingo.
right,
That's
right.
this. That's that. You don't say character defects. You say maladapted behavior.
Right.
You don't do this. You do that. Like,
right.
and I was lucky enough to have some people when I was where you're at that really helped me
Point out the difference.
Well, and navigate the difference of like, this isn't you're not a member of recovery here. You're a clinician, and it is two very different things.
Absolutely. Yeah. You get paid to be a clinician. And we go through, we run that all the time and talk about that. I was fortunate enough too to kind of have somebody, growing up, Ryan, and at this time in Ethel, it was a lot heavier like licensed clinicians versus like addiction counselors too. So I got to get a best of both worlds, and I'm grateful for that as well.
And Denham's got a good mix. Got
Absolutely.
some other stuff too,
Social
man.
workers,
You unfortunately You won't get to learn from Jeff.
No,
You know, but
you can always ask questions, and I'll tell you the right answer.
Yeah, there you go. Well, look, I want to say this too, man. We started this podcast. You recently got engaged too, huh, man?
I did.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes.
We finally set a date. So.
Okay.
She also worked for Woodlake and was also one of my employees at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she isn't in the treatment world anymore. She
for her.
hung up her
Her
Treatment hat.
her
Oh,
treatment
yeah.
hat. I was about to say cleats.
What do I say?
or like what's the doctor thing?
Yeah, the stethoscope. Is that what it is?
She hung up her stethoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in accounting now. So
Yeah. Accounting. That's a big difference.
It is.
Yeah. So and it's crazy you mentioned that because
Jason has a personal accountant.
CPA.
I will be meeting
Yeah,
with
well,
him.
We were
today.
talking about that,
Yeah.
He's made it so far now that he has his own personal CPA.
Yeah, I just
Right.
don't pay him because he's a family
Big
friend.
leagues.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah, a lot of changes, man. A lot of, and like you mentioned earlier, if you were to tell me that my life was going to look like it does today,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed you.
Mm-hmm.
I am incapable of producing a life as
Absolutely.
beautiful as I have. I'm a full-time father.
yes, she called you as we were walking in. I think I
Yeah,
overheard.
she
huh?
did. She did.
Not having to call you on the wall phone anymore, right? And
Let me tell
Did
you.
you say Daddy's gonna be on the internet, baby?
I did. So
be a star, not a mugshot either.
Right.
You know, like,
So I mentioned our podcast to her a while back, and how I told her it would be pretty cool to go on there and tell a little bit of my story, and she was ecstatic. She was so excited.
So look, man, we're running out of time, but I did hear a story about and I might be totally incorrect saying this, but did you end up having to go to jail sober?
I did, man.
All right, so
and
let's hear this story, because I think that might be an interesting take for people to hear. And the reason I'm saying that is like most of us get clean and there's a lot of wreckage to clean up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
how many of us, when we hit that wreckage,
Yeah.
you know,
Right. It was very interesting. And yeah, I had a lot of records to clean up. Being on probation in 3 different parishes, I mean, I had to work to get my license back. I had a lot of financial amends to make. I'm working nights at Woodlake and Denham. I get off work at around 7 a.m. and a buddy of mine picks me up, and we go to the bank, just a normal, go make a deposit, get some cash, do stuff for the sober living house I was living in at the time. And neither one of us have a seatbelt on, and the cops get behind us. Okay, they pull us over, and neither one of us are are alarmed or worried because of how we're choosing to live today. And the cop asked for both of our IDs, asked for his license, asked for my ID, and I gave it to him without hesitation. Again, I don't have anything to be worried about, or that's what I thought. And they're back there for a while, and then after about 5 minutes, another unit pulls up, and there's 2 units back there.
that's never good. It's like
more than-
the football instant review or whatever.
Yeah.
If it's taking longer, something's not going well,
Yeah.
man.
So
Like,
in that moment, I still wasn't too worried. I'm thinking maybe it's something he doesn't know about.
it's gotta be this guy.
I just went to court last
Yeah,
week
right.
for monitoring. Good review. My everything was everything. And then they get out of the unit and they walk up to my side of the car, and they knocked on the window, and they did like this, and I rolled the window down, and he said, "Mr. Murphy, I need you to step out of the vehicle." And I looked at my buddy Josh, and I was laughing. I looked at him and I said, "For what?" And he put his hand on his gun. He said, "Mr. Murphy, I need you to step out of the vehicle." And I said, "Oh my Lord."
Yeah, it's time to get out.
So I got out, and they put me in handcuffs, man. They read me my rights, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, "Dude, what is this all about?" And they were like, "You have a felony warrant." So I went to the parish prison for a few days and sat in central booking, and Jason, I'm on my way to jail, right? And all my mind can think is no one's gonna believe that I didn't do anything.
Yo.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna lose my job. My fiance at the time, we were in a new relationship. She's not gonna believe that I didn't do anything. So I get there. In East Baton Rouge, they give you the free phone call. The first one. So I told her what was going on. Told her this has got to be a mistake, and it should all work itself out. I finally, that was on a Sunday night. On Wednesday morning, I believe it was, they came and got me and they put me in the van. They transported me downtown. I went in front of the judge and I'm in shackles. I'm in an orange jumpsuit. And my monitoring judge was the judge on the stand, and she said, "Mr. Murphy, what are you doing in orange?" And I said, "Your Honor, I have no idea." And they muted the mic, and she turned the mic back on, and she said, "Mr. Murphy, we are so sorry. This is a clerical error on our end. This is a felony warrant from 2020 that you already served time on."
Yeah.
And, you know, and then look, this is the kicker. This is the kicker. It was April 1st,
Yeah.
the day I got arrested. It was April Fool's
I'll be-
Day.
Yeah.
So
We're like April Fools.
Got him.
Basically, though, like right.
So I'm not gonna lie, I was in like a funk, I guess you could say. I was you know, newly sober, you know, had right around a year or whatever, and my sponsor at the time, you know, relapsed and went back out. So now I'm having to find a new sponsor, and I was just, again, I wasn't sponsoring guys, that's for sure. I was just hanging around, you know, just going through the motions. And I took that as like a message, like a sign, like, hey, listen, you're doing great, but if you decide you want to cut
Yeah,
up,
guess what, bro? It's right there. Yeah.
this is where you're coming back to. And I came home, and I reached out to my sponsor now, and I told him, I said, hey man, look, I want to get with it. I want to really put in some work, and and since then I've held on to that experience, man, and I don't let go of it.
It's amazing too, like whenever you start putting in work and like trying to open yourself up to a direction from something greater than yourself, and like truly believing in that, how drastically and how quickly your life can change sometimes, dude. It's freaking crazy, man.
So
like,
beautiful.
Yeah, man, what a great story. I had something similar like that happen, but for, you know, time constraints, I'm not going to get into it.
Well, and it's like, you know, I think that's I always tell people early in recovery when I run into people and I'm like, you know, let's say whatever, first year, whatever, and I'm like, man, how's it going? People are like, man, it's great, everything's great, everything. I'm like, but it's the ones that like, man, I went to jail for 3 nights on an old clerical, you know, because that means I'm really cleaning up the bullshit from my past, man. I'm looking at it. And I'm saying, all right, let me grab that. Let me fix that. The financial amends. Is that fun? Nope. But like, that's the ones where it's like.
Oh, man, and I'm still doing it. I had to go pay probation and parole $1,200 last week for my CIT stuff, because you have to have a letter saying you have a zero balance. So I'm still cleaning up the past.
Dude,
for me,
it
took me 4 years. 4 years, man. So, well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming.
Thank y'all for
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, man. I know we snatched you and surprised you, try to make you as nervous as possible.
I feel like, I'm gonna say this. I feel important because I'm the only married guy here, man. So y'all can ask me for pointers.
Yeah, I'm not asking. Like, you forget how we meet on a daily.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just playing. Yeah, congrats on all the changes, man.
Thank
Jeff,
you, man.
congrats
Thank you,
on the engagement.
Congratulations.
Congrats on being back. And yeah, we appreciate you coming, man. Taking some time. Man. I know you got to go back and catch up on some work. You had to put that off. So we appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. It's been an honor.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thanks, man. Guys, thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Beyond the Struggle. Make sure to like, follow, share, do all that good stuff. And guys, if there's anybody out there watching that needs some help, you know, reach out. Woodlake, we have an admission center, 225-924-1910.
Man,
right? I got it.
Absolutely.
Like,
we also have a website that you can go to, and
939-3656.
939-3656 is after hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Call. If you need help, man, we're here. You know, we want to help.
try to correct us. You just got on here, bro. Like, we know what we're talking about.
Join us again next time, guys. We appreciate you guys. Thank y'all.
Have a good